Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Content Crowd. The Content Crowd is a podcast where we explore what makes content resonate, from creative habits to point of view shifts to behind the scene breakdowns. So listeners and also me can stop mimicking others and start making content that actually matters. Right off the bat, I want to remind you guys that this podcast is sponsored by Scrappy ABM. And on August 7th, we're running a live workshop called ABM in a Day. And so, yeah, that's literal. We'll have 6.5 hours where we'll walk you through ABM planning, program roadmaps, and basically you'll have an entire ABM program built in a day with our team. And this is not like a regular webinar or some like pre-recorded thing. This is us like handing you the exact process that we've helped 30 plus other companies use this year to finally get ABM right. Like this is something that would normally cost like $14,000 to do today, but we're doing it for you guys absolutely free. So save your seat at scrappyabm.com/workshop. And I will put the link in the bio, not in the bio, in the chat of this call to make it a little bit easier. But yeah, join us on August 7th. Okay. Now back to the regular scheduled programming. Today I'm here with Sydney Weber, who is the VP of Marketing at Venn. Hey, Sydney, thank you for being here.
Very cute little sticker at the bottom. I love it. Technically, I'm still the senior director. It's not getting announced until like next month, but that's okay.
Okay. Sorry. I just pulled what I saw from LinkedIn.
No,
So,
I love it.
Okay.
Thank you for having me. This is very fun.
Yeah, if you haven't listened to an episode before, which is totally fine, I always say that like the goal of this is to interview people who are way more talented and way more interesting than I am. And so it just kind of lets me look really good as like a host or a question asker. And I just let everybody else sort of handle all the hard parts. So thank you for volunteering to come on here and let me ask questions at you for an hour, and I get to learn more about you. So we can just start with like quick intro. You just mentioned that your title is just changed. So can you talk a little bit about like what you've been previously doing and kind of what you're doing now, or what you will be doing with your new title?
Oh gosh, what am I not doing? Yeah, so I work at a company called Venn. I've been here for about a year, but I have been in marketing, I don't know, maybe like 8 years, but I've spent my entire career in a single industry, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I have been in the multifamily real estate space for 10 years, started on like the operator side as a leasing agent. I was doing marketing for big apartment complexes in my area. And then I shifted to the technology side that supports that industry. So I've been in marketing roles on the tech side for a while now, at a couple different companies. And now I am leading the marketing team at Venn. And Venn is an incredible product that is just the everything platform for your home. So if you're a renter, imagine if it was like Nextdoor meets Facebook Marketplace, but you can also pay your rent with your built rewards if you want. I know those are super popular. You could, tap your phone to open your door with Bluetooth, give your friend keys, your dog walker keys for your app, chat with your neighbors, learn about the community. Literally everything you could imagine, sign up for utilities, is all in one place, which is a really unique experience for renters. Usually it's like an email here, upload your pay stubs here. It's kind of a nightmare. So we're really bringing it all in one place. And then for the real estate side, the people that are operating those buildings, which is a feat to operate something that's that much of your life. So many things are happening all the time. They have one designated area to go and do everything they need to be successful and operate a smooth building and provide incredible experience to their residents. So it's been very fun to bounce around to different parts of the industry and then land finally in this place of a solution that's really solving for the problems that our industry is. It's really fun to be a part of. A really smart team.
I think it's super interesting that you've sort of been in that industry, but it's also like I love like these kind of things. Like it's not something that you would typically think about, especially like if you're not currently a renter. Like I'm not really thinking about the technology that kind of goes into a lot of these things. Like I know about like smart like appliances or nodes or whatever in my own home, but like when you really start thinking about like there's a space for that in the multifamily renter space. And that also makes me a little bit jealous because I wish that, like you mentioned, it's like Facebook and like Nextdoor, but for like your apartment. Like I wish we had that in like my neighborhood. Like there is Nextdoor, but like Nextdoor is like I don't know, a little untamed, and I also don't know, like, like the people that live in my neighborhood. Like, I just moved here in like 4 months ago, and it's like I'd love to know more about the people around my neighborhood because I'm just super like nosy anyway. I wish there was like our HOA had like something similar where it's like you guys could all be a part of this thing, but that does make me a little bit jealous because I would like to know more about my neighbors other than just trying to like be outside walking when they happen to be walking and like catch up to them and be like, hey, do you want to be friends? Like, it doesn't work that way.
I think it's a Wall Street Journal article, but I could be wrong. It's a big publication, but they published a article that talked about your happiness and how it directly, like if you live within a certain proximity to your friends, it increases your happiness by a significant amount.
Yeah.
So if you think about living in a community of people, whether it's your HOA or an apartment complex, if you have friends in the building, people that can help watch your dog or whatever. Sorry, my phone is like going off.
Oh, you're okay.
All these like these ties to home really
Yeah.
improves your quality of life. And so there's definitely all the transactional stuff that comes with living in an apartment. And, most landlords make you download like 6 apps to live in one apartment, which is insane. There's so much, like, honestly, like apps probably won't exist in 5 years. So
Yeah.
why are we operating that way? I should be able to just say in my phone, hey Siri, pay my rent on the 1st, or
Yeah.
set up auto pay. Oh no, don't start now, Siri. But these little things that are just going to become expectations of us, and where technology becomes more invisible,
Yeah.
then you need to have the right infrastructure to support that. And then with all that happening in the background, what's left? It's connecting with your community and having
Yeah.
a pool party that your landlord's throwing and meeting your neighbors, and just improves your quality of life.
Okay, I'm so interested in you saying that like apps won't exist in like 5 years. I want to know, like, talk to me about that because I hate having an app for everything already. Like, I went to the botanical gardens the other day and they're like, oh, do you have like your pass on the app? And I was like, nope. Can you just look up my name? Like, just look up my name. Like, I'm not downloading an app to have to like just show you that I'm a member here. So I'd love to know, like, what are your like, where are you getting that idea from? Because I'd love to know like how that shift happens.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I have two things. Apps won't exist, and the entire visual interface of technology will be completely transformed.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at most technology today, it is a dashboard where you have to navigate to buttons and tabs and things to find the information you need or take the action that you need. But now, most of the things that you need to do moving forward, or the way that like really sophisticated technology companies are building, or your open AIs of the world, you're looking at a singular box with very few button or navigation options, and you're using natural language to receive the information you need or to take action that you need. The like vibe coding thing and the everything that we do with AI. And now imagine if that's the way we're used to interacting with technology, where we can just use natural language to achieve what we want without navigating. Why wouldn't that also be applicable in your phone?
Yeah. That's super interesting, and I'm all for that because I'm like, I just feel daily like fatigued by all of the different things and like the apps and having to like sign into everything. Like, I really do have like password fatigue. I think every time I have to sign in something, I'm just like immediately throw my head back. I'm like right before this, I had to sign into this. This has been logged in for months on my computer. And of course, like today, I like hop on and it's like, I've got to sign in. And it's like, okay, like,
yeah. If you don't recognize my face when I look at this, or my finger touch, and I'm not immediately logged in, I'm like immediately pissed off.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, and I also just hate, I've got so many passwords saved like on my passwords app on my phone, which is nice that I can get to it on my computer. But then you've got like work passwords and like notes also that just, I just, it's hard to keep up with. And I don't know where to keep everything. And I just wish that there was just like, I don't want to have to like have a super long, complicated password for everything. Like, I'm over it. But that's cool. So I want to know more about how did you land in like the renter space, because you've also had two. Is that right? You've had 2 different podcasts that are around this kind of
I've had
thing?
2 podcasts. Yeah, they were so fun. They were also live, so I know the stress of like,
Oh, yeah.
but not only like we didn't live stream them on LinkedIn or wherever this is, we did them on Zoom, and so the audience could like talk and participate as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have a 2-year theater degree. That's it. I have a 2-year theater associates in acting is my entire college education. I moved to Portland, became a professional ballroom dancer, worked at Fred Astaire Dance Studio, traveled
Wow.
competitions, taught people, eventually got sick of walking people around in circles. Because it sounds very glamorous, but it's also a lot of like marriage counseling and getting stepped on, and exhausting, but it was very fun for a long time. I quit on a whim, with no prospects. And was living in an apartment complex, and I just sauntered into the leasing office and I was like, hey, if I work here a couple days a week, can I get hooked up with some free rent? And they said, no, but you can work here full time and we'll give you 20% off. So I was like, oh, all right, fine. So I started working as a leasing agent, was quickly pretty good at it because it's sales, it's sales and customer service. And I had
Yeah.
been doing sales. I could sell people ballroom dance lessons. They were very expensive. So as a home. So I did that for a little while. Didn't love getting yelled at by residents. That's tough. Being on site at an apartment complex, many things go wrong. The stakes are very high. You're dealing with your people's homes, and I didn't really see a path forward for me into any sort of like finance or accounting or really property management role. But was very fascinated by just like the fun stuff, the creative stuff. I'm a theater person, like the hosting of the events and the very early days of posting on Facebook for your business and all
Yeah.
that, getting online reviews, all that stuff. And so I asked I Googled marketing, as you do,
Yeah.
as an uneducated millennial. And I asked to ghost a new marketing manager at the corporate office, and nothing came of it. I found her job to be a little bit boring. She was just doing emails, but I was like, oh, this is still like, we'll see what it is. It's just one day. And a year or so later, ran into the region, like her boss from the company, and was good at schmoozing and just kind of like lied my way into my first marketing job. I had a blog with my friends. I was helping our local real estate agent with their Facebook. And I was like, this sounds like marketing. And then I just kind of figured it out from there and have slowly, like, unbeknownst to me, 8 years later, have like built this incredible career, and I'm speaking on great stages about market. I'm speaking at the Zillow conference in a few months to all the marketers in the industry nationally about how to do influencer marketing for multifamily. There's a lot of like, it's crazy. Just things happen to you and your paths
Yeah.
are all different.
That's awesome. I mean, it seems like that's how a lot of us got here. And I say us, I just mean like people in like the current marketing space, or that haven't been doing it for 20 years, that are kind of just like found ourselves in this way of but it sounds like really like you're kind of like exploring different ways. But the biggest thing is like you realize the problem, and like there's like a lot of things that can be solved here through like better products and marketing and actually understanding your customer.
Mm-hmm.
Which
I
is
am the one thing I am very, very educated in is storytelling and understanding the human condition and how people respond, and thinking about people's intentions and what makes them feel a certain way. Like that's the theater background. And that theater background has served me more than I could imagine any other background would in this industry or this career path.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I think it's just really cool because I did something similar where, well, at least like it sounds like you were like chasing like a passion. I kind of bopped around a lot of things. Like I think trying to avoid the things I really wanted to do because I felt like the things I wanted to do weren't going to make money, or there wasn't like a viable path for that. And so I spent a lot of time doing a bunch of other things that don't help now. But I think just like the time of going around and experiencing a lot of different sides of work and different people in different places, and then realizing that once I landed somewhere that I could still continue filling in those gaps. And that was kind of how I landed to where like I started in graphic design as a graphic designer working for marketing services. And it was like all the words on these things suck. Like it resonates with this. But I didn't have like the authority. So it's like, okay, I'll do like you did. I'll Google marketing and I'll figure out how to like, what can I learn to fill in the space? And so I think the biggest thing for me was learning narrative and learning how stories work and how words resonate, and the things you just mentioned, the human condition and all those things. And then I was like, oh yes, now I'll understand, and started like telling my boss, and they're like, oh, that's cool. But like you're the designer, you're not the copywriter, you're not the whatever. So yeah, so I kind of just found areas that I thought I could serve through learning and moved on to the next thing. And now that's where I am now, where I spend most of my time writing. It's kind of wild. I went from drawing all day to writing all day. So, which is still both creative pursuits. So I guess it's still kind of on the same side, but people don't usually pair those together. Would love to know like more about when it comes to like creating content. Like you've created, I know you've got a few articles that you've been in, and you've had podcasts, and you create content on like LinkedIn. So for those of us who are trying to be as outward facing or trying to become as popular of a B2B influencer, so to speak, as we can be, what's like one philosophy or rule that you could give us that comes to like creating content? Or just creating anything at all. Doesn't necessarily have to be content, but creating and putting it out there.
Yeah, gosh, I am very critical of everything I do, extremely critical. I and look at what you do. Is it interesting? Would you want to read this? Would this stop your scroll? Would this help you?
Yeah.
There is an element that I need to figure out, and that's, well, yeah, this is old news for me because I've been doing it, but it's really interesting for someone in a different place in their career. So I'm maybe not the best person to give advice for on that, but I'm just an extremely curious person, and I'm always chasing new knowledge and understanding of different things and approach and looking at something from a different lens. And so a lot of my content creation personally will come from a lesson learned. A lot of tips I've learned from, the classics, the Dave Gearharts of the world, and like the edutainment aspect, like, can you make this entertaining and educational? Work in public. Those are really great tips that I've learned from him when it comes to personal content creation. When it comes to content creation for work, I think that it's really important to know who you are as a brand and deeply, and not let too many external influences deteriorate that like essence of who you are. I Not just who you are, but deeply understand who you're speaking to. And when you're writing, you may love it, but take a step back and be like, do they care? Do they have a really crystal clear what's in it for me? Can I make this one sentence instead of 5? Can I add a little bit of magic to to get them to feel something? I think that content, I don't know what kind of existential crisis you're going through right now as a content creator, but I think that like word-based content is completely evolving and changing. And yes, I use ChatGPT literally all day long, every day.
Yeah.
Do I read a ton? Yeah, I read a lot throughout the day. Am I reading novels? Am I reading people's long ass LinkedIn posts? Not really, not always. I think that not just the story, but the way that you tell the story and where you tell the story is really important. The distribution of the story is just important as the story itself, and getting the right influential people and social proof infused within the work that you're doing, whether they're sharing it and commenting on it or being quoted in the piece that you're writing, whatever it may be. So anyway, I think I lost track of the original question. So
No, that's good, because I love when people give me super long-winded answers like that, because it helps me, because I have like 5 other questions I want to ask now. So one, I love, like you mentioned this in a few different ways, but like what is somebody going to get out of this, and do they even care to read it? Like, will they care about this? And I think that's something that I always try to live by, and also something that I try to instill in everybody as nicely as possible when I'm like critiquing or auditing someone else's content. It's kind of like, I know this is cool or it's important to you, but like, what's in it for the person reading this? Like, who cares? And so I try to be as when on my own content, I try to do that as much as possible, where it's like, who cares about what this is? And I'm already assume that nobody cares. So it needs to really be something like worth putting out there if I already think that nobody cares about it. I think that's maybe that's not the most positive light to look through, but that's how I look through. I just assume that nobody cares. And if I'm messaging somebody, like I'm reaching out to you to be on my podcast, like I already assume that you don't care about me or the podcast. I've really got to make it feel like there's something in it for you to be on here in some way.
And I think this is a very important conversation, so I want to stick on it for a moment.
Yeah.
I think the fact that nobody cares is very freeing.
Yeah.
Everyone is moving through life as the main character of their story, and you are a side character of their story. So taking risks is not as scary when you know that, like, if they respond negatively, it's because you weren't the right side character in their story, or you can move on to the next thing, and you can kind of pressure test ideas. And yeah, if you're trying to do something for your job where like this needs to resonate with this specific audience, you need to think so deeply as them. Like I will literally put into ChatGPT, read my article as if you are the executive of operations at a property management company of this size. What are the red flags? What's interesting? What's boring? And like rip it apart. But if you're doing content for yourself, like what you're doing here, I don't know what the intentions are when I'm posting on LinkedIn or hosting my podcast. I take a slightly different approach. I do things that I find fascinating and interesting to me, and I make sure I'm really excited and interested. And then naturally, people will come along for the ride, and people will love it because it's so truly like not trying to be everything for everyone. It's like so absolutely authentic. And then other people be like, yeah, that's not for me. She's boring. She says like too much, whatever. I don't want that. And then who cares? Great. Find someone else. But the people that do resonate with you are like, oh my God, I'm so all in, because it's like a Taylor Swift song. Like, why are people so obsessed with Taylor Swift lyrics? Because they're so like, they're diary entries, and they're so real. They're not like, they're not so vague that this could apply to anyone. They're like, oh my God, I have literally sat in my room and thought that exact same thing. And I feel this deeper connection.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think you just read my mind. Maybe, I don't know if you know how to do that, because one of the questions I was going to follow up with is like, how do you like stay authentically you? Like, how do you keep authenticity as you're trying to create content? Because you've got to share something about yourself, and it kind of almost feels like sometimes you've got to shed a little bit of yourself to be able to do it. But you kind of like combated that, and you're like, just put things that you were excited about and like things that are relatable to you in some way, and like be excited about it and put it out there. And if people don't like it, then like it's just not for them. And that's not everybody is going to like you. So that's just kind of how it goes. I think that's a great piece of advice too, because I think so many people get worried about like the impressions, or they get worried about certain metrics, or if people don't like it, or if the person they wanted to see it didn't see it or whatever. And then it feels like, well, I'm wasting my time, or the people don't like what I'm doing, or like people are leaving like negative comments or whatever. But it's kind of like, yeah, not everybody's going to like it. And like you can use that as a way to improve, or you can use it as a way to just kind of like shut off that part of your brain or whoever and keep going from there. So I think you answered like the question I was going to follow up with.
Yeah. I mean, you get intent signals from a lot of different places. It's not always about quantity. It could be about quality. It could be one person sends you a DM and be like, oh my God, I learned so much from this one thing you did. And or you, in your career, like if you are publishing content and you're like, gosh, it's not really getting the impressions and stuff I need. And then somebody walks up to your booth at a conference. It's like, oh my God, I read that article the other day that you guys published, and it really helped me with this. Like those things are just as valuable as the metrics you see on a dashboard.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is why it's important to be consistent. Even if you feel like you're not getting anything like out of it, when that one person or that team or that whoever like stumbles upon you and sees the things that you're doing, they're like, wow, this person is actually doing this every day. Like they're showing up every week and doing this thing. And that's way more impactful than hoping that this next thing that you write, like just pops off and then you don't ever have, I think it's better to have like just a catalog of really good bangers versus like one hit, like.
Yeah, but you also got to kind of like test, learn, and iterate. Maybe you keep hitting this certain thing and it's not working. And you're like, okay, what do I need to change? Okay, I can let this die and move on. I think that's important too.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. Like there's some things you hold on to. I guess it just depends on if you love it enough to suffer through it, I guess. Well, so as we're talking about pieces of content and campaigns we've worked on that may or not have done well, I want to know something that you like thought was really good and you put a lot of heart and soul into it and it just like totally flopped.
Yeah. I'm going to use this opportunity to tell you about a time that we had a total win and then I got cocky and then had a flop. So let me tell you about my creative process. So I start with a big idea and I'm like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. I'm ready to go right now. I'm going to make 1 million phone calls. This person's going to help. I'm so ready. Then I set a deadline that is public enough that I can't back out of. Then I have crippling anxiety. It happens. It's super successful. I'm on a high and cocky about it. I'm like, I could do that again. Plan it again. Less crippling anxiety. It doesn't work out as well as it did the first time. That is
Indeed.
something that has happened to me more than once. and, and it is a very interesting ADHD informed way of working.
Yeah.
And
I'm diagnosed also, so yeah.
I'm recently like adult diagnosed. I'm like, oh my, and I talked to the woman that diagnosed me. I was like, I watch a lot of TikToks. Maybe this isn't real. Maybe I'm just like influenced by TikTok. She's like, no, honey, there's some people that are,
Yeah, that would be. I've known my whole life, and I finally was just like, I'm just gonna do it, and then like went to the doctor, and she's just like, yeah, this is what's been wrong with you your whole life. And I was just
yeah.
like,
And she's
cool.
like, and here you go. And now
Yeah,
you'll be better.
yeah,
No, it's very interesting. And it's like looking back at my career and the way that I operate, I find that the ADHD diagnosis, like just it in general, like I wouldn't not want to have it. There's
yeah,
obviously a lot of downsides, but there's a lot of things about it that have gotten me to where I am, that like the interest, the novelty, like my
mhm,
marketing strategies are very different. I'm very attracted to novelty. I am very motivated by deadlines. So I set these insane deadlines and I'm like, I have crippling anxiety and like crazy stress about it. And then it's super successful because I like
mhm,
poured my heart and soul into this thing because I had this deadline. So let me tell you about a piece of content, because this is like content focus, that was really successful. And then the second one was not. So when I first started working at Venn, we were about to announce our biggest partnership ever with like the best property management. So property management companies are the customers that we sell to, who then implement our technology at their business for their on-site team, like leasing teams and their residents.
mhm,
And this property management company called Bozzuto, they are not the largest, but they're one of the largest in the country, but they are like the most luxury. They're the gold standard for the industry. Even companies bigger than them are like, wow, how are you guys are doing it right. And so when they chose to go all in with our company, being relatively unknown in the industry before that, because they kind of like early adopters found us, it was a big deal. And so it was on me as a new hire, first marketing hire, by the way, not first in general, but like only at the time
mhm,
with also someone in brand, but only like really like marketing messaging wise. And I was like, oh gosh, this is so big. This is our opportunity. This is like our coming out to the world moment. This is our credibility that all eyes will be on us. So I wanted to make sure at that point you like look into PR and all that stuff. And I was like, I need to guarantee that this is successful. And generally PR is not going to maybe pick up a story of it. You got a customer. Like you have to
yeah,
find the story in there. And so I worked really hard with the executive leadership team at this company, the marketing team, comms, everyone, to craft a story that was not about us, but about their vision for the future of technology and the move, and like positioning them as the star. Like they are going to be changing the entire industry and they are the leaders that everyone should look up to. And so because the story was really around them, they felt super bought in. They had a super strong what's in it for me. I bought a native article, the kind that looked like a real piece of news, but they're brought to you by, and it was brought to you by them, not us, even though it was us, we wrote it and everything. We had this amazing campaign where all their executives and their teams republished it on LinkedIn. We launched it 1 week before a conference, and at that conference, we threw a co-hosted event together, which customers and technology companies never do. It's usually like technology companies throwing it for them. So that was like the extra validation of, oh my gosh, Bozzuto's throwing a party. That's crazy. And we made it all secretive because we didn't announce a partnership yet. It was so cool. We even had our founder and one of our champions on stage speaking at this conference, and our founder doing a pitch, which we like. They had the conference is all about like emerging technology in the industry, and they had like different tech founders doing 5-minute pitches to a group, kind of like really fun and exciting. So we were everywhere, and then we had a booth, and we were the sweethearts of that entire conference. Everyone was talking about us. Our booth was like line up. We had to turn away people. We didn't have enough people to give demos. Our booth was
oh,
so packed constantly. People were coming back. Oh, I brought my CEO, one another down, like at a conference where most people are like, you want a cookie? Come to our booth.
yeah,
It's like grabbing people to get, because they're going to watch sessions and stuff. And so it was so unbelievably successful. The publication sent me the stats a month later and was like, this outperformed every other article that we've ever done in our history by 2x.
wow, that's awesome.
Crazy,
Yeah,
crazy successful. I'm like, oh, great. Perfect. That's my new strategy. But I'll take 12 more, please. Um,
yeah,
so I'm like, great. I'll buy another article. Sounds like a great idea. We are launching a partnership with a company called Built. You must know them. They advertise everywhere. They're
Yeah.
massive. You can use the credit card to pay your rent, and they just launch mortgage and rewards everywhere. Amazing company.
Mm-hmm.
Really great integration. We're launching with them. Big name, great for us. And I'm like, okay, great. The social proof of having Bazzuto there and having the customers there and having that story, I'll do that. And so I had did the article, wrote it up. I thought it was really great. It had Built was there, Bazzuto was there, another really big developer like Hudson Yards in New York related. They were quoted in there, and it was all about like top developers and managers are shifting the way they approach technology, and they need their technology companies need to step up or step out kind of thing. It was a little controversial. It was good, I thought. And I just didn't spend as much time with the other people outside of my company, getting them super invested. Yeah, they approved their quotes. Yeah, I'll post it on LinkedIn, whatever. But they weren't so invested. Like it wasn't a big enough moment for them and also we launched it on the first day of a conference instead of a week before. So we didn't have all the chatter leading up to it. And while I think if you looked at the two articles side by side, you'd say these are equally as good.
Mm-hmm.
Like objectively, a lot of people reviewed them. The publication, I think they're objectively equally as good. The second one might even be stronger, but the distribution of the second one and the external buy-in and ownership of the campaign of the second one did not have the heart or the effort of the first one. And so what I learned was it's not the story. The story doesn't matter as much as people's relationship to the story in the really, really robust and different distribution strategy for the story. Because I think if someone read that second story, they'd be like, hell yeah, this is really interesting. But did they? Not as many. I looked at the stats recently from that second article, half of what I had the first time.
And so you think it was, do you think it was a combination of, like you said, the timing and like people weren't bought in as much? Was it just because we had already did this big thing and the second big thing was like maybe expected? Like, do you have any thought? Like, I know like when it comes to things like that, it's hard to like pinpoint, like things go well and then things don't go. And sometimes it's hard to really go down, but I'm just wondering like, as you prepare for the next time you have to do something like this, like what would you change or what are you going to do to sort of do your best to stop that from happening again?
Yeah, I think I was wrong about what the star of the show was. I don't think the star of the show was the article. I don't think that was that wasn't like the center of it. I think the center of it is the relationship you have with the person, with the other company, the Bazzuto Venn relationship that was on display. Yeah, we sent people to the article so they can understand it, but that wasn't it. That wasn't the heart. It was them showing up and them speaking on stages and posting their own things, video with it, all that stuff. There was like that's why I think like partner marketing is so powerful. Like if you think about really big launches, like when consumer brands like, oh, Coke is doing a partner, or, I don't know, Selena Gomez has an Oreo brand, and like pulling two really powerful brands together and having a really, not that that was like marketed super well, but like having a really, really strong, equally weighted intention and what's in it for me for the companies.
Yeah.
Like I didn't give them strong enough what's in it for me to want to push this.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what I was said before is like, you need to ensure that the people you're counting on are invested in the distribution of the message, or it'll fall flat.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's super good advice. I mean, you kind of broke it down a little bit, but how do you get the people invested? Like, let's say like we're talking to somebody that's listening to this that is about to launch something at their own company. And it's like, I really need I need sales and I need marketing. I need everybody that has a LinkedIn account to be invested in this. And if they've never posted before, like I want them to start doing a few things. I'll pre-write everything for them and they can share everything that we do. And the company page is going to have we'll have all these things, but it still relies on the people like actually doing it, actually promoting it the correct way. So how do you get somebody to be on fire for something like that?
Yeah. I usually start from the end. I imagine like I start with a little bit of daydreaming. And I think like, what is the most magical, dreamy dream outcome for this idea? What does the future state look like if everything goes right? And then I look at every single person in my mind who's involved in that magic happening. And I work backwards until I can get to a point with them where I really understand how that would be a home run for them.
Mm.
And you have to spend the time with them, and they have to really have ownership of it, and they have to really kind of think it's their idea. A lot of what I do is having ideas and then convincing other people that my ideas are their ideas. I should not say that publicly. But that is like having a sense of ownership of something.
Yeah.
Or moving through the world differently if you feel a sense of ownership. Why do you think tech companies give their employees shares in the company?
Mm.
They need to have a sense of ownership. And that is the same with a story. In those customers wanting to tell the story, they want to tell the story because it's going to make them look really good to all their peers. They're going to be the star.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I love that. I love that because it's something that I believe in too. Like when I'm trying to get people to, like companies that I'm working with or whatever, to rethink how they're talking to their clients or they're talking to prospects or whatever. And it's like, if you have clients already, you can ask them for referrals, but it's not about like, hey, look at how awesome this company is. It's more about look at what this did for me by working with this company. I became this, or I got this, or my life is so much easier. I can check in, I can open my door with my phone. Like that's awesome. Like you should probably, you should want the same thing. Like it's pretty cool. And if there's a prospect, same thing. Like it's not about it's not about like what you have accomplished or can accomplish, but what they can accomplish with a little bit of your help. Like obviously it's a lot of your help, but make it look like a little bit of your help and they can like really like, go all the way in whatever they're trying to do.
And if you're in marketing and you're not spending a ton of time with your customers and people in your ideal customer profile, deeply understanding their motivation and what they want and why they care about your product and how it's impacted their life, then you're really doing yourself a disservice.
Mm.
You cannot make assumptions about people. You cannot make assumptions about what motivates them or how they feel about you. They might be explaining what you do completely different than the way you're explaining it. You have to understand them, and you can only do that by talking to them and really listening and using that to inform your content.
Absolutely. That's a great piece of advice. Like that's not even a great piece of advice. That's just like a really good rule that everybody should know. Like it seems like so obvious that you should know.
Talk to your customers.
Yeah, you should talk to them and know what's working well and use that to then get more people to buy from you because if that's what's going well, you've got the proof right there. And sometimes it's just so lost on, oh, we should try a different feature, or we should add this, or we should do something different, or we need to send more emails, or we need to buy a billboard. And it's like, just find, like, you don't even know why people liked you to begin with. And then you're going to end up losing the thing that was good because you're not paying attention. So
don't rely on your sales team. Do not let your sales team be your gatekeeper of customer, or your success team be the gatekeeper. I move through the industry as if I'm a seller. I sell. There's only 2 jobs in tech. You're either selling shit or buying shit, or selling or building. Like there's only 2 jobs.
Yeah.
You're seller. You're selling at scale. So as you're like moving through your career as a marketer, if you can get yourself in the same spaces that sellers are in and forming your own relationships outside of, hey, make an intro with our customer. Can you introduce me to someone? Like start to form your own relationships outside of that. And that can be really powerful for your ability to be successful. And that is the reason why I started my first podcast. The first podcast I ever did was called Renter Obsessed. And I was my first B2B marketing job. I literally had no idea what I was doing. I came in, everyone had all this B2B marketing experience. My boss was like an ABM legend. I was like, what's ABM? I don't even know what that is. I still don't really know what that is. Maybe you can teach me in your workshop. I was just like, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to market to these people. I was one of them. I was literally a buyer of my product, the persona, the champion persona. And I was like, okay, now how do I sell to myself? That was my North Star. So it's like, well, what if I just gave myself an excuse to validate things and talk to people every single week? So I started hosting a live podcast. We talked about whatever. I interviewed people, and that's how I got to understand who they are and their motivations. I brought them on the show the way you're doing to me right now, which is brilliant, because I'm sure now you can kind of like sell to me or sell to people like me. And then I would also have a live audience. So in real time, we were validating these ideas and they jump in and they were part of my circle. Then I could feel comfortable reaching out to a friend and be like, hey, I just wrote this case study. Can you read it and tell me if it's like interesting and resonate with you? And then I formed these friendships that really helped me in my role. And it all started from putting myself in a situation where I had to have FaceTime with, giving myself a deadline, weekly live podcast, just like you, where you had to have FaceTime with your customer. And it was really transformational.
I love that you mentioned that too, because I feel like everybody that I talk to, I'm trying to convince them to do this, because it is like, and you just validated like how life-changing it can be. Like, I'm not even thinking about selling to anybody. I really just want to learn more about how people do things, like as a content creator, as a marketer, or whatever you want to lump yourself into. Like, you gotta, like, this is, you can subscribe to all of the newsletters that you want to, but like, this is the way that you find out like what people are really doing and like what really works, and like find out how people are diagnosing problems. I mean, and how they're coming up with ideas. And this is, it's just been an incredible experience. I'm glad that you validated that, because I wish I would have started this 3 years ago. Like, this is only the 9th episode, and it's been like such a great, like, life changer for me. Just seeing like, when people say yes is already like huge. That's just like, that's actually like the smallest hurdle now. Like, it was at the beginning, I was like, there's no way this person, but like almost everybody has said yes. And then seeing people like share it, and it's kind of like, just gives you like that sense of pride, even though I'm not really doing anything. Like, people, like I said, everybody else is saying all the good stuff, and I'm just sitting here nodding my head. But it makes me look really good, and it helps me out a whole lot when it comes down to thinking of ideas and new ways of going about content or marketing or whatever.
I miss it. I don't have as much time for it anymore, because now, like, I'm running a whole marketing function at a very high growth startup. I have a team I got to hand, and I hope that I get to a point in my career where I can get back into it. But there are there are other things that have really, I'm a much better conversationalist than I was after years of hosting podcasts, and in real life, it's great. I can walk through a crowded expo hall and know tons of people there, and have people run up to me like, oh my God, I loved your podcast. I've been listening to it forever. And like, feel a sense of like, oh my gosh, am I like a little micro niche celebrity, my little micro niche thing? It's fun. And then you just have connections with people that you never thought you would. So there's only upside. And if no one listens and no one shows up, you had one great conversation. And that is a feat in itself, if you're just around not talking to people.
Yeah. And on top of that, like, you can also say, like, if you talk to somebody, you take 2 weeks off for vacation or whatever. If you talk to somebody every single week, that's 50 conversations. You can then say, I was on 50 podcast episodes last year. Like, the year before, I was on 2 episodes. This year, I was on 50. Like, that's pretty cool. So at least, it may have been my own, but at least I can say I at least had. But yeah, like, even just, I had 50 conversations with 50 different people. Like, that's pretty incredible. Like, people are out there doing like challenges where like, you talk to a different person every day or whatever. You try to have coffee with a different person, every day for 30 days or whatever. And it's like, you could also do this and talk to a different person every single week for an entire year. That's a lot of conversations, and it's way easier to get guests than I think people. That was my biggest worry in the beginning. And so far, I haven't had a dip into like coworkers yet. Like, I've been able to just continuously like get people. Like, I've got people coming on 2 times in 1 week on some times, because I'm just like booked up. So
people like to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
I'm not special. I'm one of those people.
Yeah, I thought about doing one by myself, but I was like, nah, people don't want to listen to me talk. People much rather listen to somebody else talk. But yeah, it seems like you've had a lot of good experience on things that you've created, and you've had some things that kind of went bad, and you figured out how to realign and adjust to make sure that those things go better the next time. So I'll love to know, like, when it comes to all of these things that you've put together, from your podcast to your articles to the teams you're leading, what is like the one hill that you would die on when it comes to creation? And maybe you kind of already touched on it, but I would love to know, like, this is how we end each episode, is just this one piece of advice to like take away.
Yeah. I think I talked about this a lot, but I think your story is only good as your distribution.
Very interesting.
And I also think that don't spend too much. I really struggle with this. It's a fine balance of wanting something to be pixel perfect and having a bias for execution and publishing.
Yeah.
I think that depending on the project, you should really consider which bucket it should go into. Because people are going to remember you more if you're consistent. Mm-hmm. And like your weekly, if you're running, content marketing for a tech company, how can you get your story out there as much as possible? One thing that is really kind of going to be the cornerstone of my go-to-market strategy at my current company is, how do I create an army of evangelists out in my industry? How can I make a strong enough, resonant enough vision? And I think we have that, and just like really locking it in and finding words that are easy to grasp onto. I think, our old friend who's off in his world, like in Bali or whatever, Chris Walker, and all his like catchphrases about dark social and creating versus capturing demand, like having these really ownable moments that people can just like sink their teeth into, and making those people not just talk about you, but talk about like, what are those ownable things that they're like, oh my God, yes, I believe in this. I want to spread the gospel to my entire industry. Really think about your distribution and and take a step back and forget everything you've ever learned as a marketer, and just sit with yourself as a consumer, as a human in this world. And I look at movements that have happened, cults, protests. Look at movements, look at moments in history where people have felt moved to take action, and really look at what you're doing, and look at it with a very critical, outside of your industry, outside of B2B marketing, SaaS, whatever you're in, and look at it as a human and think, does this work I'm doing matter? And will people care? And why will they care? And let that inform your story and the distribution. Even if you're selling like TurboTax software, like whatever, there's something about it. There's a reason why it exists. And is the world not as, what would the world be like if that thing that you're selling doesn't exist? And if it's like, fine, this thing's not that interesting, then maybe move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just resonating in that, because that's a very, all that is super good advice. I love like how you're sort of narrowing it down to like the distribution. So that's like the method from which your message is getting to the people it's supposed to get to. Mm-hmm. And I also love that you mentioned like, look at cults, because I was literally telling my wife yesterday, I was like, if I understood how to start a cult, I wouldn't, but I think I could be a way better marketer if I knew how to be a cult leader. Like, I know that sounds kind of bad, but I was literally like, how can one person be so like bold and just like, I don't know, like have people gravitate towards them to make people do the crazy things they do. Like, I want to have just a tenth of that power,
I think the thing that has kept me going this long as a person with ADHD that is constantly a squirrel to every different new idea, the thing that has kept me going so long in this very distinct career path is I'm absolutely fascinated by psychology. I'm so interested in humans and how they think and how they react and how their past experiences inform their future way that they're going to interact with things, and all that, like the context in which they live, and like understanding. I think it's so interesting. And that is why when I am approaching content and marketing, and it's so informed by that. And I think it's been really served me.
Yeah. I think that's a super good piece of advice. I always like hope that the One Hill People Die On really like rounds up the episode. I think that did perfectly, because I think like if you go back and listen to everything that you said, like it was definitely around like how people will perceive things and how people will think about things. And that is something that I believe that a lot of people working in, I mean, particularly just like B2B in general, but B2B SaaS specifically, and maybe there hasn't really been a lot of this in the past, of like treating your potential customers like they're human, like sending an email with the intent of a human reading it seems to be like lost on a lot of people currently. And maybe it's just like, we're trying to get more volume, we're trying to get more pipeline, and we forget that there's like a human on the other side of that. Like, you can talk to them normally. You can even ask them to reply to your email, and they will. It's kind of crazy that people would like actually want to talk to you if you're getting the right words in front of the right person, in the right way. Like, I've had people respond to emails that I've written, and that's kind of like, I feel like a little unheard of in B2B, like especially just outbound emails that people are, and it's because like, I just talk to them like they're a regular person, because they are. Like I know what they need, and they don't have a lot of time to read a whole bunch of, BS in this email. Just like keep it casual and talk to them like a person. And that's I think that's part of like understanding how people talk and the human condition, and making sure the distribution is going to the right place in the right way.
It's not easy to do. I just want to say it's not, all this stuff is not easy. If it was easy, then everyone would be doing it. And know
Right.
that not a lot of people are doing it well. It's getting a very complicated idea into a very, explaining it in a very simple way that deeply like is a gut punch to the right
Yeah.
person is the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah.
I'm not amazing at it. I'm not nailing it in my current job. I'm really working on it. It's so hard. And if any of you work in a tech startup, you know that the pressure that you feel of those weekly calls and not hitting your numbers, and then the sense to like, oh, I got to revert back to the old ways of doing marketing because I'm desperate for leads. I need 1,000 leads by next week. Like those reactive ways of moving through the world do not usually, in my experience, lead to the type of marketing that does resonate. It takes a lot of risk, takes a lot of confidence in yourself, and you have to be really good at pitching it internally to try some of these things that maybe you don't have a proven track record of, and maybe they're not going to hit right away, but ultimately they will serve you better than the old ways of download this gated ebook. And not to say that I don't also do that as a backup. I also do that as a backup. but I do like would not put all my eggs in that basket, not put my career on like the old ways of doing things.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you so much. That's a great piece of advice, because I want to get people to kind of snap out of some of these old ways and try something new and be a little bit bold. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that, everybody. This has been Sydney. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing a whole lot of information. I mean, we put a lot of information into 50 minutes, and I'm super grateful for you being here. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to following your journey on LinkedIn and everywhere in the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much.